Hello everyone, my name is Andy, and if you've gone through my blog in the beginning, I probably talked about Replit, which is a browser-based area where you can run your code uh, on the internet. But now we'll set up a local environment for your operating system, and we'll use Windows today. Uh, so yeah, I'll set up a local development environment, which stands for IDE. We're setting it up because, well, it's quite important for a programmer to have a environment that is beneficial for them. So, which is why we'll choose the PyCharm IDE. It will be beneficial for your code as you're creating them. And why? Well, it's an IDE specialized for Python. Why not use something that's exactly made for it? Um, an IDE can help give you hints, underline the error in your code, and provide solutions. Sounds like your programming life is about to get just a bit easier. So we want to go to this page here. To get started, we'll go to this page, python.org/downloads, and you want to make sure it's the latest version for Windows. We'll click on download Python 3.10.8, which is the latest for myself here. Might be a little different for you, might be more updated. We'll save that into your download folder or wherever is deems best for you. Once that's finished downloading, you want to click on add python.exe to path and click on install now. Just give this a couple seconds. And then once that's done, for some of you, an option may pop out on this bottom screen here that says disable path limit after this installation is done. So if that pops up, you just want to click on it, and then a window should pop up, and you just click on the option yes, and then you should be okay, and your setup should be successful right after. But we'll see. We'll see if this pops up or not. But if it doesn't for some of you, then that's great. Okay, it looks like the setup was successful. We'll just close that. And then we'll go to step 2. Now we'll download PyCharm. Okay, so now we're on this page. You want to go to jetbrains.com/PyCharm. And yeah, it'll bring you to this page here, and it should have a obvious black button that says download. So click on that. And of course, there's many versions, but we want to ultimately for this tutorial, we're going to use Windows. But if you are running other operating systems, you can click on these ones here as well. But we'll click back on Windows, and we'll use the community version because it's free, and like I said, it's built on open source. As for professional, as a 30-day trial available, but after that, you have to start paying, and who likes to do that? Not me. So we'll click on download, and download to, of course, wherever it's most comfortable to you in your system directory. While that's downloading, I'm gonna go back to this page here, and if you're having issues installing, you can always go here to system requirements and see what those requirements are. And of course, if you're ever stuck, there's also installation instructions. But of course, for this tutorial, we'll be going through that together. So yeah, just depend on what I'm showing you. A couple seconds left, and then we can start up the wizard setup. Okay, so once your wizard starts up, you want to click yes, and it should bring you to this page. So we'll click next. For destination folder, I like to leave it to default, but you of course can change it to wherever you may like. I'll click next. Installation options. So here you can set a certain amount of options for your application. For me, do I want to create desktop shortcut? Yes. What that are these. I have a whole collection of them. It just puts them down here, so you can just click on it and start up your app a bit quicker and easier without having to look into your directory for them, which is pretty nice. We'll click next. We'll leave this option on default, and we'll click install. This should just take a couple minutes. For some of you, may have uh, better hardware capabilities. As for I don't mind waiting a little bit longer. I like to take things slow. Yeah. Yeah, just give it a couple minutes. It should take about 5 to 10 minutes average time. If it takes any longer than that, I would suggest waiting a little bit longer. And once this has completed, we are able to open up the PyCharm application, which is where you'll be able to run your code, functions, everything. And I'll just give you a bit introduction to that once that's completed. But some of the capabilities of the IDE is that it can autocorrect for you. It has more space to develop, such as splitting up the screen. If you're familiar with IDEs, then you should know that this IDE has that too, those capabilities. And our styles are linted, meaning PyCharm will follow the Python coding guidelines, guideline conventions. So it will automatically hint and tell you how you should format your code to follow to be consistent with other fellow Python programmers. So once that's finished, we'll leave it on Run PyCharm Community Edition, and we'll click Finish, and it should start up the app. Okay, we'll now run the application. So as you see, it's very clean. So now it's on your uh, operating system, which is pretty cool. Uh, so what we'll do to get started is we'll click on New Project. And for a new project, you usually want to name something that relates to your program. So if it was a testing program, you might want to name this as test. But as you can see, this thing just popped up here. Environment location directory is not empty. This means I already have a project file that is named the exact same way. So what you can do is just type in a number or just name it differently. So I'll just call it testing. And for the base interpreter, you want to make sure it's the latest version of Python. But since I only have one, I'll just leave it as is and then create. Once you click create, just give it some time for the virtual environment to be created. And once that's complete, we can just maximize this page. Click on maximize. And there should be a default file called main.py. .py stands for Python, so this helps the IDE read the file as a Python file. And this is just some intro code that's on this file. But for me, I'll create a new file just to show you where to start. You want to go to testing, right click, new, click on file, and just name the file however you want. But before you click enter, you want to make sure it's a .py because it is going to be a Python file. So now a test.py file is opened, and the console here is the box here is empty. So what we'll do is we'll print hello world. Oh, still fix that. And then how do you run this exactly? Well, there's a few options. You can right click and click run test. Test is for the file name test. So this will change depending on the file you're running. So because it is already on test, we'll click run, and it should open up a console that prints out what you wrote. So for me, it's hello world, and down here it should say hello world. And there you are, your first very um, program in the IDE. Congratulations. And but before we leave it off of here, I'll show you other options to run this. You can always go to Run and click that. And over here, you can select the file to run because we have two files here, one called main, one called test. You can decide which one to run. So if I click test, it'll rerun the code and print hello world. If I were to run main, it'll print out whatever's in the main file. Pretty cool. Like I briefly mentioned earlier, there is linting in the IDE. What that means is that, so if I were to put a space here, a yellow squiggly line will pop up. And if you hover over it and click on the light bulb icon and click on reformat the file, it will reformat the code to a Python coding structure convention. So this is, of course, to help keep your code consistent with other fellow programmers. And I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, I hope you were able to learn some things and that you found this tutorial helpful. Stay tuned for a second post. In that second post, I will go over some programming structures and ultimately create a application that you can follow along and make with me. Thanks again. My name is Andy, and bye.